Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome in once again. Today we're going to be looking at the brand new offering from EMP EDC. This one is called the Relative, and while it's very slightly familiar to the Nimble series, this is in fact a new knife. And the reason why it's called the Relative is because it does share some DNA with the Nimble design. However, as you can see, completely different blade shape, a very nice new compound grind. The first time we're seeing this being done on any of John's knives. Full jimping all the way down the spine, but the familiarity of having the multiple deployment options. You can thumb flick it, you can finger flick it, you can front flip it, you can do all that good stuff just like you do with your Nimbles, but you're getting a bit of a different feel in your hand. Your finger placement is a little bit different. The milling that's being done in the design work on the frame is going to be different. The pivot's a little bit different. Everything's just a little bit different, but you do have that familial feeling that does keep it in that same family. It's still going to be the things that you love about the Nimble, but enough reason for you to check out the new design that makes it just different enough. I'm really excited about this knife. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this intro. We're going to get straight into this. I begged John, I said, as soon as you start getting your samples of these things, send one to me. Just even if I'm just playing with it, I've got to touch that knife. And he let me touch it all right. He let me touch it a long time.
Oh, help me, stepbrother. I'm stuck in the bush again.
There it is, my friends. There is the symbol that always means something exciting is on the way. This is a brand spanking new model from John Rusk over at EMP EDC. And I got to tell you, as much as I love my Nimbles and my especially my original 3-inch Nimble, never, ever going anywhere, I really like what's in this box. Now, this is not the packaging, according to John right here. This is not the actual packaging. So, I don't know what surprises he has in store for us for the packaging. So for now, bye-bye. Well, I really skated across there. This is it, baby. This is it up close and personal. And it has a different feeling to it. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat, even against the comparable sized Nimble X, there's a different feeling to it. Yeah, I get it. It's got the bead blasted finish versus the stonewash and the frag, and it feels different. And we're going to do some comparisons here in a moment. You can see the blade stock is thicker. There's something about this, and maybe it's just because all of the other Nimbles have been made by QSP, and that the Relative is made by Bestech. Maybe that's some of the difference that I'm feeling. I don't know. But what I do know is that I really love seeing John's style, the Nimble DNA, brought into a compound grind. I really dig that. And I also like the fact that this is a clip point. It's something dramatically different for his brand. I mean, look how dramatic that is. And look at all that jimping down the spine. This is something wickedly cool. And yeah, it's something I can actually front flip. Because it doesn't have one of these things. Ugh. See, I have the hardest time with a standard front flipper. But the way that he's done this, the way the jimping has been done, this is much more rounded at the edge. And it doesn't really bite enough for me. This, there's a more defined edge. You've got jimping that goes all the way around it. And the jimping goes all the way to the edge of the blade, where this is very gently rounded. So this one, I can actually get my hands on. I can actually get my thumb on. I will admit, I do miss not having a flipper tab. Really, really like having a flipper tab. However, it was the Nimble that originally got me to enjoying the reverse Spidey flick. I had never enjoyed doing that. I never really did it ever until I got this knife. It was just the right size and just the right action for me to do that with. And now I do it fairly often. And I've come to appreciate more knives that give me that opportunity. Let's get into some specs right here, right now. Let's see what we're getting into. Now, there's going to be two different blade steel options. I'm going to break that down for you here in a second. So, the Relative is a titanium frame lock, as we have seen before with the Nimbles. You're getting a choice of CPM Magna Cut or CPM 20 CV. Now, the Magna Cut is only going to be in the all blacked out stealth version. All of the other ones are going to be 20 CV, and I'll discuss why in just a few minutes. Your blade length is 3.4 inches. Yeah, perfect size for most people. Overall length is 7.8 inches. Blade height is 1.25 inches. These are all familiar things to you if you have a Nimble X. It's going to feel a lot like a Nimble X in your hands. I don't have a blade thickness in Freedom units. It's 4 millimeters thick, and I will put on the screen what that actually is in Freedom units. The entire knife is titanium. Your pocket clip, your frames, your pivot, the pivot collars, everything is titanium. All of the hardware is T8 Torx. Now, let's get into the comparisons for size. I'm going to lay it this way so that the pocket clip isn't changing the orientation of the knife. I'm going to put it up against the standard Nimble first. You see that it is a little bit larger. It looks a lot larger, especially because of the height of the blade, because of the shape of the blade. But when you put it up against the Nimble X, it's the same size. It's the same dimensions. And it's very much the same knife. But there are these interesting little changes. I mean, first off, look at the lock bar cutout. You've got the accordion style lock bar cutout instead of the large notch. I prefer this. It looks a lot better. Now, a lot of times, certain companies, they tend to be a little bit stiffer for some reason. I don't know why. I'm not seeing much of an issue here. The pocket clips are the same. They're executed in the same way, except there's a little bit more of a defined intersection between that rear bevel and the flat of the clip. These are much more softened and rounded. Now, that could be a byproduct of their stone washing. Actually, no, because this is also stone washed. So this is just a sharper, more defined bevel. I like that more. I really like the lines of that more. Same goes for this bevel right here at the top of the frame. On the QSP versions, they're a little bit softer, that transition. This is much more defined. As a matter of fact, that feels more like a hollow ground bevel versus a flat bevel. That's exactly what this is. Let me just double check. Yeah, that looks hollow to me. Yep, it's very, very slightly concaved, whereas this is flat. Everything is just a little sharper and more defined, including the milling. When we take a look at the milling, here's where a lot of the differences are going to be. Some people said they weren't crazy about the frag versions of the Nimbles because the frag pattern wasn't very sharp. It didn't have sharp edges to each of the cubes. Now, I actually liked that. I've handled a lot of frag knives, and some I liked and some I didn't, and I really like how this one feels, although it can be a little bit slick in the hand every now and then. But the milling detail here, see if I could get it to give me a close-up. I don't know if it's going to. Yeah, there we go. The milling detail here is very sharply defined. And I don't mean sharp as in if I run my fingers down the lines, they're going to cut me. It's just that you feel them. And it's a really wonderful feeling. Now, all the edges are knocked off. And that could also be a byproduct of the stone washing as well. It feels really good. There's no edge even down here and up here. But you can feel each and every ridge. It's ribbed for your pleasure, as a matter of fact. Then you get to the differences in the pivot. I've always been a fan of the EMP EDC pivots. Now it's just a little bit classier, being shouldered by these collars. And that's going to give you some interesting color options, whether it be from John in the future or you do anodizing on your own knives. Your pivot can be one color, your pivot collar can be another, your frame can be another. You could have a tritone finish going on all in one area. Or you could just leave that polished and anodize other things. There's a world of options available to you because of adding the pivot collars. And you know what? It feels nice too. It's very, very, very slightly proud, so you could just barely feel it, whereas the originals were completely flat. So there's a lot of comparisons, but there's a lot of differences. The titanium is thicker on the Relative than it was on the Nimble. Or the Nimble X, I should say. I'm trying to keep it comparable to the same size. The lock bar cutout is shaped very, very differently. This overall shape here is a little bit different. You're also going to notice, remember on the Nimble X, you had this very large area here, like an island, in between the forward choil and the standard opening for the hand. Here, you've only got this tiny little area, and it opens up to that choil. And I'm wondering if that's based on customer feedback, where they went, I don't like the separation between my fingers there. It's just too much. Or I can't find a place because I want to grab it right there, and I can't because of that big hump. I'm wondering if that was direct customer feedback. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I prefer how this feels. I like that additional separation. I find myself wanting this to be a little bit further forward. Like, it's great if I'm choking up, but when I'm holding it in a regular hold, I want my finger to be right about there. So, those that felt that way with this knife won't feel that way with this knife. I feel that way with this knife, but I won't feel that way with this knife. That's what makes the world go round. They did a slightly different fuller. It's the same design, but again, with Bestech, everything's just a little bit more crisply defined. I keep saying sharp, and I think that's going to throw people off. When I say this is more sharply defined in areas, I don't mean sharp as into the touch. I mean it's more crisp. Like again, that bevel where the pocket clip drops off. This is much more rounded and soft. This is more crisply defined. Also, you can feel the screws in the QSP pocket clips from the Nimbles, but they're set in much deeper on the Bestech. On the Relative, you don't feel them at all. They're nicely countersunk, whereas on the Nimble they were not. And it doesn't appear that the clip is any thicker at all. No. So those are the major differences that I've seen. Again, the jimping is much more sharp. And I do want to use the word sharp there because it is much more grippy. I've never had a problem with my Nimbles, but I'm not a front flip person either. If you're a front flipper, you are really, really going to appreciate this a lot more because that corner is going to dig right into your thumb. making it super simple to front flip. You guys know I do not front flip, so I'm not a good front flipper. Yet, I'm probably about 95% on that. 95% of the times that I try to get that flipped, it flips for me. Now, let's see what the weight differences are. I'm curious about that, because this has slightly thicker blade stock. So we look at the Nimble X, 4.3 ounces. I don't think there's going to be a huge difference, but I think it's going to be a tiny bit. No! Are you kidding me? They're the exact same weight. I don't understand that. This feels more substantial in my hand than this one. No, well, man, you know what? Maybe it's all in my head. Well, clearly it is, because the scale doesn't lie. Just like Shakira's hips. Nothing but truth in those hips. Nothing but truth in those numbers. So, yeah. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I can't be completely unbiased in my reviews of John's work at this point. I have just truly fallen in love with the way that he designs. I really have enjoyed the manufacturing partners that he has gone to with both QSP and now Best Tech. He's made some great choices. And now that we're able to get this type of look in the blade, that I think really puts him in the big leagues now, as far as dramatically designed and very aggressive looking. This is really, really, really going to be a winner. We all love the Chavez 229s, right? All the Redencians, the Streets, the 229s, the 228s, the Liberations. They're all fantastic because Ramon designed them to look fantastic and feel fantastic. And he chose a great manufacturing partner to execute them well. And that's exactly what John has done here. Now, the reason why, and I think I mentioned this in the intro, but the reason why it's named the Relative is because it shares so many design elements with the Nimble. And that's why I felt it was important to show you the similarities and then again the differences between the Nimble and the Relative. Because while they're very, very close, they're very clearly sharing the same DNA. They're just different enough. And I had chosen to go with two different blade shapes on my two Nimbles because I like the variations that he offers. And I really felt that the sheep's foot looked really the best in the X. And I thought the spear point looked the best in the mini or the standard Nimble. And this new clip point and the compound grinds that accent it, I think were a wonderful progression. Now, there are Tantos available in these now, and there's a Wharncliffe, and I like the Wharncliffe a lot too. But as much as I liked those, John was starting to show me the first renders of this while the Tanto and the Wharncliffe, while we were all talking about those. And I went, yeah, as much as I love the other two, I'm good with these. I could skip past those and wait for the Relative. As soon as I saw that compound grind in the rendering, as soon as I saw the clip point shape, and as soon as I saw the new milling that he was going to be doing, I was like, yeah, this is the shit right here. This is the absolute shit. I just feel like everything is so much more crisp and detailed on this knife. It doesn't make me dislike my Nimbles in any way, but it helps them be appreciated for what they are, and I can appreciate this for what this is. And I don't think that they're going to be, I know y'all are waiting for me to go clink clank and scratch up John's prototype here. Not going to happen. I've got control like a fucking samurai. Anyway, I don't think that one is going to pull away from the other as far as pocket time goes. There's going to be times that I'm going to definitely want to carry my Nimble X. Obviously, there are going to be wildly different times that I'm going to want to carry my smaller Nimble. And I think there are going to be completely different times I'm going to want to carry the Relative. So the way I see it, I absolutely have to do it. And I don't really care about the difference between MagnaCut and the 20CV. It doesn't really affect me all that much because these are not my hard users, and I have so many knives that no knife, any one knife in particular, gets particular hard use. So, yeah, while MagnaCut is fantastic, I own some knives in MagnaCut. I've made many knives in MagnaCut myself. It performs wonderfully and all that jazz. I've never had a problem with 20CV. But I'm going to go for the all completely blacked out stealth version this time to set it completely apart from these two. I just think it looks really, really good. I don't care that it has MagnaCut. And if I don't make it in on the first run, I guarantee there'll be a second run because these are going to be wildly popular. And then the second run may not be MagnaCut because here's the deal. As much as they want to do all MagnaCut, the problem with that, and as a matter of fact, I want to clarify, the all black may not be MagnaCut. Only the DLC with the bronze accents is scheduled to be MagnaCut. I want to make that clarification right now, and I'll put that up on the screen if I remember. Hopefully I'll see my hands doing this when I'm editing the video, and I'll put that there. Basically, the supplier for MagnaCut does not want to ship MagnaCut over to the Far East anymore. So that's where John's Manufacturing, that's where Best Tech is. And if that's the case, it's only going to be the steel that they currently own, that they currently have in the factory, and they've already made them in the DLC in bronze. So for me, I'm going all DLC, and I'm pretty sure now that I've made that clarification that it's going to be 20 CV. I'm completely fine with that. I don't have to get 18,000 cuts before I strop my blade. I'm okay if I only get 8,000 cuts before I have to strop my blade. And then 20,000 before I've got to resharpen it, or whatever your numbers may be. I'm okay with that. I have a lot of knives. Most of my knives are going to see minimal use because it's spread across what I'm carrying over a long period of time. If you only have 1 or 2 or 3 knives, I could absolutely see the need for a specific kind of steel that's going to have a very, very long life on that edge. I totally get that. But most of us own 20 or more knives. So you're not really going to be pushing each and every one of those to the edge. And if you are, that's great. I love people that use their knives. That's great. 20 CV has still never, I don't think, let anybody down. No, it's never let me down or any knife maker that I know that's worked with it. So, where does it fall as far as my favorites? 1, and I don't think that that's ever going to change. I really love my original Nimble. 2, 3. And as great as the Nimble X is, I like that significantly more than the Nimble X. 1, because of the compound grind. I love the hollow grind in the primary. It's going to be a great cutter. And I love that transition from hollow to flat grind. It looks great. Further complemented by the fact that it's a clip point, and further complemented by that very deep fuller that runs off the end of the blade. It just looks fantastic. I also love the more crisp details of the way this was machined over this. So there's a very dramatic difference for me as for what I like more than the other. I like this way more than that, and I still love that knife. And I'm still going to carry that knife. But there's a big separation between those two for me, and it's really close on those two. So there's a visual representation of my favoritism. How you like that? Never done that before. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I just wanted to share this with you as quickly as I could. I'm going to keep repeatedly putting the dates of the pre-order up on the screen so that you do not miss them. Sign up for the newsletter that John has through his website, because that is where you're going to get all of the correct information, all of the updates. Everything that you need to know comes out in his email newsletters. He is very, very thorough on those. I love you. All right. With all that being said, I'm out of here for now. Thank you guys for joining me as always, and I'll see you on the next video.